Hey, what's up with guy? Just got back from the beginning rider course for motorcycle safety here in Michigan and wanted to share what I learned and how that worked for me using my Vespa at the course. A couple things about the course, highly recommend it, especially for a new rider. Somebody like me who hasn't had any experience with it, if that's you, you definitely should take something like this. They're going to cover everything that you need to know there for the testing, and you're going to go through a lot of practice exercises on the course that you really need to learn. And it was very, very helpful for me. I think it'd be tough to pass the test if you're a beginning rider without going through the course. They're hard to get into, so think about planning early, like around March or April. The class only offered in the summer. They're at various locations at various dates. It does take a whole weekend, so if you're going to register, I'll put the link in here for the one that I used for myself. So you can check that out, but make sure you register early to get into the class because they fill up. The program itself starts with an e-course, and this takes about 4 or 5 hours. It's actually a pretty good course. It's a self-paced learning. There's a lot of videos in there that covers everything about motorcycle basics and some maintenance items and how to get to know your bike, but also dealing with road conditions, how to handle curves, how to handle intersections. There's a lot of good information to be learned in there. You're just doing this at your own pace. It does take a couple hours, and once you're done, you print off a certificate, you bring that to the class. It's a full weekend, so plan on spending Friday night through Sunday all day being there. And Friday night is going to be the start of it. That's an orientation. It takes about 2 hours to go through an orientation. They'll go over a lot of what's on the written test. They'll talk about how the course is set up. They'll get you making sure you're prepped for the next 2 days worth of riding. There's no riding Friday night when you get there. I got there about 4 and it went to about 6 o'clock. You're meeting the people in the rest of the course. You're dividing up into 2 groups. There's an early group and a late group. They put you into, there was about, I think, 16 or 17 people in our class, which is a little bit small. It can be anywhere from 16 to 25 people in there, so that they're going to divide you up into 2 groups that you'll sign up for in that Friday night session. Then when you get there Saturday, I was in the early group. You're going to do 2 sets of riding, on-course riding with your bike. You can use their motorcycles. That's what I think is preferred. I was able to use my own bike. I took my Vespa there because I just wanted to use it and learn on my own bike. So if you have your own bike, as long as it's titled and insured to your name, you can use the bike there. I think it has to be less than 250 cc or something like that. But make sure you check that with the course instructor in advance. But most people didn't have their bike there. I was the only one that brought mine. You can do that. You got to be on time. They really keep it close to the time schedule there just to make sure that everybody is not delaying the other people in the group. There's 2 riding sessions for Saturday, so you're on the course. They've got about, in total for the weekend, I think it was about 13 different exercises and setups on the course that they're explaining how you ride through it. It starts from simpler, more basic stuff, getting used to your bike, and then moves on to more complicated stuff. The Vespa worked good for me. It was a bit of an oddball, I guess, in terms of bringing it there, only because the other bikes were clutch driven. So this Vespa is automatic. You don't require a clutch. This side is where the clutch normally is on a motorcycle, and that's part of what you're learning is how to use a clutch on a motorcycle. I didn't need to do that. I didn't really want to do that because I don't have to do that with my own bikes. There's a lot of tight turning. There's a lot of balance exercises with the bike, slow speed exercises, some stuff that I would not have thought of doing on my own. Then you get to Sunday. That's when you do another set of coursework, riding coursework in the morning, and then in the afternoon you are actually taking the test. And before you take the test, you actually go through all the practice exercises for the test. Pretty much exactly what you're going to do on the test you're doing before the test, which I think is a huge advantage of these kind of courses, because if you just go and sign up for the test yourself, you don't get the opportunity to practice, I don't believe. I think you just go there, you schedule a time, and you just go on the course. So if you have no experience with that course in a practice road, it can be a little bit more difficult to do. So I definitely thought that was a benefit. We're doing that on the second day, on the Sunday. And then once you finish with that practice round, they kind of line everybody up and then go through the actual riding test. Now, the riding test consisted of 5 parts altogether. There's a lot of information online about this. I looked this up ahead of time. I'll put some links in here for other videos that I thought were good, that basically showed from a rider's perspective exactly what you're going to do. That covered everything, at least 4 of the 5 tests that were there. There's a cone weave that you go through, and then a turn around and stop in a box. That's test number 1. There is a kind of tight turn that you do, tight right turn, and then a diagonal across, and then a U-turn back and stop in a designated area in a box. There's a straight accelerate out for, you get yourself up to about 12 to 18 miles an hour, and then you brake hard and stop, keep the bike up. That's the 3rd test. Then there's the same accelerate like that, again getting up to speed, then you're swerving around an obstacle to the right and getting, of course, keeping the bike up after that. And then the last test, which I didn't see on any of the other videos I was looking at, you actually go out straight into a curve, accelerate up to over 20 miles an hour, and then slow down again, come around a curve, and then come back. So those 5 parts make up the Michigan Rider Test. Since I did the course, it made it easy. I passed. I didn't miss anything on there. You don't have to have a perfect score. They'll take points off if you put your foot on the ground, or if you go over a line if you're supposed to be between lines, that sort of thing. So you can do a little bit of that and still pass the test. So after you pass, you get your motorcycle endorsement in Michigan, which means you can legally ride on a motorcycle on the road, and it worked out really well. What they do is they send an email link to you basically that night. That Sunday night I got an email link. You click into that link, you can just self-register on the Michigan Department of State or Secretary of State website. They have your record already in there. You add the endorsement to your license. Once that's put in the computer, you pay a $16 fee, then you're ready to ride. All right, that's it for my thoughts on the beginning rider course up here in Michigan. If you're a beginning rider like me, I definitely recommend taking it. It helped me pass the test, got me a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge I didn't already have. I'm ready to hit the road with this Vespa and start putting some miles on it. Appreciate everybody that watches. Stay tuned to the channel for more about life and living up here, beautiful northern Michigan.